You see the screen of topsoil next to my yard, you know, I gotta show up and give you a hard time.
Just drain it again.
Yeah.
Well, there's a.
Right away. Yeah, well, it's dirt. He's
Hello,
here.
Bart.
I didn't know they were doing that next to your yard.
You want the pictures? The pictures? I mean, I don't have a
They
whole lot.
want chapel beer.
I mean, I don't have a whole lot. I'm not.
How much are these?
So, did anybody?
Nancy's not a good day,
I didn't email him, email me, yes.
What question do you have?
I commented on it, I looked at all. Yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yep.
I forgot, I wrote, if I don't hear from you, then tell me no.
Yeah, I answered you, didn't I? I gave you that. I said, it looks fine to me.
Okay.
I gave you that. Man, she comes loaded.
I don't know, I could have swore I said it looks good.
7 or 8 on it.
Right there.
Why is it bold?
No.
Is it, do I, is it okay that I
Scott,
sleep?
how many years do you have?
100.
100? What do you got? What do they do?
How many years old is
Over 30.
Over storage units.
Yeah.
And when they're.
I was just curious. No specific reason, I was just, what's the top of my head?
I work in the city of Rochester.
I know you did, I know you did. That's why I was
I
asking.
started in the picture.
Based on my calculations.
Comes to work every day for that. So when she retires, she gets just more than she makes already.
No, not that. Because mom comes out the door.
Well, I'm just, my point
The
is,
reason you make more, you make more.
Right, and I understand that.
she's not old enough for social security, that's why.
No,
I mean, that's,
no,
yeah,
no,
okay.
Well, no, it goes back.
no. No, but I.
Yeah, Jeff, it'll be yours.
Here, it's like my.
Oh, retirement, yeah.
Yeah.
Who cares about social
Yes. So now that's why I go to Jeff's.
Another major balance, and also I was making, you know,
You know what? Then you're, I don't know what to tell you.
Karen, Jeff's not coming.
Well, warm the last couple of weeks, I know.
Well, you know, we all have goals. I don't want to. That's
So the bike yesterday.
Did you?
why,
They would ride it.
very interesting for somebody to do something like that. It's like, you know, people just leave a trailer in the backyard, and it's just fun.
It's been sitting in the garage for 2 years, looks perfect, it's gorgeous bike, and I plan to put 100 miles on it.
Why, just because you don't have
Was it
time?
bicycle?
No.
No, it's a
Two-seater?
What kind?
The training wheels on?
Custom lowrider,
Nice.
Something that retires.
Where's your country?
95. The frame is 95, the drivetrain has got 5,000.
The driver is.
How much you sell it?
75. Yep, no, not, it was on a bunch of lists.
I saw it.
I saw it on Facebook, sold it one day.
My son and I looked at that, I'm like, yeah.
But just, there's no, they did that out, it wasn't reasonable.
Oh, we're tabling this?
It's a Harley though, isn't it?
If I had that bike out in Arizona, I'd get twice what I got.
Oh, around here you mean?
Around here, it's just,
Get to these.
It's a beautiful little bike.
sorry, when the guy said he sees it, does it, the price of trucks is down south, is much trucks is much.
Oh,
All right, ready?
I think so.
Karen's ready?
And,
Okay. Call the
meeting of July 3rd to order. If we've all please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Councilman Abbott.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Cahill?
Present.
Attorney Genesi?
Present.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Here.
Councilman Abbott?
Here.
Councilman Dean?
Here.
Okay, first we have two sets of minutes to be considered, June 20th of 19 and June 27th of 19.
I move we approve the minutes of June 20, 2019 as submitted.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Excuse me.
No,
Councilman
start
Dean?
with this.
I knew.
Did?
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Abbott?
Yes.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Okay.
I move we approve the June 27th minutes as submitted by the town clerk.
Second.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye. Next we have a presentation this evening from the Webster Emergency Medical Services, their mid-year report to the town board on what's going on with the emergency services.
All right, well, good evening Supervisor Nesbit and Councilman. It's a pleasure to be here again mid-year. Tell you what we're doing. So in the notes that you have received, you can see we'll start with any queue call data. For 2019 through the 30th of June, we have hit 1,588 calls. We mutual aided 102 with a call coverage of 93.6%. We had 4 cardiac arrest saves year to date, 9 overdose saves, and 3 RSI responses. And if you remember, RSI is the rapid sequence induction, where we paralyze patients after sedation so that we can facilitate intubation for people that may not be unconscious enough to be intubated normally. It is a very unique skill. There are probably a few dozen providers in the county that can do it, and NAQ has 4 of those providers. And I think 2 of our providers do more RSIs than any other individual in the county. So it's a pretty neat service to have up here. And why it really matters is, so if you get someone with a head injuries, an opioid overdose that wakes up quite angry, MVAs or people that are trapped that we need to control the airway for a variety of reasons, it's the only way to do it. And we're far enough away. We're not like the city regs or even Irondequoit that are close. We're a good 20, 30, 40 minutes away, but we're in Wayne County. Some of our paramedics have been called as far down as Pittsford and Perrin to do this service. So it's an important skill to have, and we're lucky to have them as providers. In 2019 for WEMS, we were at 1,598 calls with only 79 mutual aided for 95.1% call coverage. 1 cardiac arrest saved so far and 3 overdoses. So of course the numbers don't align because NAQ covers a much broader territory and WEMS permanently stays in the town. You know, the one observation one would make is that our call coverage percentage has gone down. And the fact is, as you'll see in a minute when we go to the back of the next page, our call volumes are up. So the denominator is changing rapidly, and so the numerator, small fluctuations have an impact. There are times when we've had 3 ambulances up. Today, in fact, we had 3 ambulances up, and we're trying to catch them. But a lot of times, the other thing that happens is, Murphy's Law is they all come at once. And you'll never be able to plan for 100% call coverage. So, we're happy to stay in the high 90s where we can. We're always striving to find different staffing schedules and things that might fit it, but sometimes there's nothing we can do. The next section that we talk about is how do we stack against the metrics from Monroe, Lewis, and Mutual EMS. And these are the metrics that, if you'll remember when we were applying for a certificate of need, we were providing data, and we were like, well, what is the standard, right? And so in 2018, the county, the region, set up some standards. So for shoot time, we don't have a good method to track that. And that is because sometimes we're already in the ambulances, sometimes we're not, so we don't really track that. So we track on-scene times and response times. So for priority 1 calls, which are the sickest patients, the cardiac arrest, the anaphylaxis, oh, sorry.
What is shoot time?
So shoot time is from the time you get the call until the vehicle goes in route. So it's, I've gotten out of my lazy point, I've hopped in the rig and I'm gone. It's a very difficult metric, right? Again, if you're coming back to back from other calls or other things, it's a hard one to capture, and no one logs it. So when we call dispatch, they don't always capture it. So we don't pay a lot of weight on that. So the priority 1 calls, which are our sickest patients, we try to get an ALS unit or an ambulance on scene within 10 minutes, at least 90% of the time. And so both WEMS and NEQ are doing it more than 93% of the time. So we're well ahead of the average for that, the goal. For priority 2, we're trying to get a vehicle on scene within 12 minutes, 90% of the time. And as you can see there, we're at 95 and 93, so again, well ahead. The priority 3s and 4s are interesting calls. Those are the ones we actually respond middle life still siren, right? And this is where you think, okay, it's not an emergency. Well, you fall on the floor, you may not be having chest pain or difficulty breathing, but that hip hurts, right? As far as I picture it, it's like an emergency, and I want help, right? I want pain medicine, I want to get off the floor. Sometimes it's literally something as simple as, I need help getting out of my wheelchair back in the bed. We go for those too. And so those are as important to me from a patient care perspective as anything else. So in the region, our goal is 17 minutes for 90% of the calls. We're at 99% less than 15 minutes. We can't even get to the 16 and 17 minutes because we're not there. And for priority 4s, which are the lowest of low priorities, literally the, hey, I need a lift assist. They try and get there within 25 minutes. Now, Supervisor Nesbitt, you'll remember one of our opponents at the CON hearing said, well, we can cover 100% of the calls. We said, sure, if you have an hour to get there, right? Yeah. Because whether it's a life-threatening emergency or not, to that individual on the floor, or stuck in a wheelchair, or stuck in the tub, they need help right then. They're not going to wait an hour when it's convenient for someone else to come. We get to 100% of those in under 12 minutes for ALS, and 99.8%, which is pretty close to 100% as far as I'm concerned, in under 25 and 95% under 12. So I think statistically showing the benefit of having 2 fully staffed ambulances and paramedic flight cars in the town just reinforces itself with this data.
Can't really argue with that, outstanding.
Thank you, Councilman Cahill. You can't argue the data. The neat part is it's not our data, right? So as we said when we applied for certificate, this is county provided data, right? So this is data that someone else collects and gathers and we report it. So if you flip over to the back of the next page, we'll give you some operational updates. So first of all, call volume is up, right? So we're up 7% for NEQ and 8% for WEMS. But when you're running, 3,000 calls a year, that's another 240 calls. It's almost, 2 out of 3 a day, you're getting 1 more call, right? So it's a lot more calls. And again, these things tend to come at peak times, right? So first thing in the morning when people aren't feeling well, rush hours in the afternoon, and sometimes, the 11 to 2 o'clock in the mornings, and they just stack. And there'll never be a time we can catch them all, but we are doing a pretty good job, I think, of catching the most. We have a great mutual aid support crew from Penfield, Arundecoit, and West Webster, and the calls are getting covered in a timely manner for everybody. We continue to have the 4 flight cars up with 2 on duty from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. and then 1 on the overnight. And then a few weeks ago, we purchased our 5th ambulance. So you say, if you're staffing 2 ambulances, what do you have 5 for? Well, the reality is things break, right? We're not buying brand new ambulances. There are budgetary concerns we need to think about, and we want to make sure we always have 3 in service, for some flex. And so what our operations manager, Jerry Fideli, does is, he is now, instead of having 3 ambulances where you've got a 33% coverage rotation, we're now dividing amongst 5, which are down to 20%. That allows us to do more PM, it allows us to not work each rig as hard, and things happen. So a few weeks ago, I get a call from Jerry at 5 o'clock in the morning, our flight car hits a deer coming from Strong. A day later, an ambulance hit a deer. I'm like, come on, you gotta be kidding. And that's why having extra equipment allows us to not in any way change our level of service. We can just keep things running and operating. Last Thursday, as you may know, we had the active shooter drill with the Webster School District. And on that day, the operations team actually got all 4 ambulances staffed. 1 was out of service because of the deer strike and it's getting worked on. But the other 4 ambulances were staffed and participated in that training. So when the need comes, we do. We had a big soccer tournament up a few weeks ago. We had 3 ambulances up that day and both flight cars supporting. That weekend, there was a soccer tournament, there was a softball tournament, and something else going on in our community. Tons of people and spread out throughout the area, and WEMS and NEQ had that well covered. Our training decision our division that we spoke about a few months ago, led by our paramedic Julie Jordan, has now trained over 250 students year to date. So when you think about it, okay, that's a neat fact. What does it mean to our community? It means 250 more people are ready to be the first link in the chain of survival in our town. They know how to recognize an emergency, how to respond to an emergency, and how to keep the patient viable and stable until we get there. And it matters, right? So when you think about 250 new people in our town, you know, that's a pretty significant number if you think about it. And one of the things that Julie has added to our repertoire of our training classes is Stop the Bleed. So we did a Stop the Bleed initiative with YMCA's in Strong Hospital a few weeks ago with their trauma team, and Julie is now a trained and certified Stop the Bleed instructor. So she's doing that. I think she's done the police department here and some other groups. As I mentioned a minute ago, we did the active shooter drill with Webster schools. That was a pretty interesting experience. Our operations manager, Eric Fidelli, who was also Webster's fire chief, was the incident commander for that event. The drill started, we started preparing about 6 o'clock in the morning. It went hot somewhere around 9. We actually stopped it at about 10 and then restarted at about 10:30 and then finished at 11. And it was a great experience. We made mistakes, right, which is why we drill and train. We found that there are challenges in the community, radios being one. You know, we don't always talk on the same frequencies. Language, approaches to handle things. We had the Webster Police Department, we had the Monroe County Sheriff, we had the New York State Troopers, we had different ambulance services, we had fire departments, and we all do things a little bit differently. And, you know, as I said on in the interview that evening, we are very lucky in this town, right? For the average citizen, they don't understand, but we work very well with Chief Joe Rigger and his police department. We work very well with Chief Fidelli and Chief Pratt in the fire departments. You know, Webster EMS, NEQ, West Webster, Penfield, Irondequoit. You know, when things happen around here, it's not like a surprise. We're not meeting each other for the first time. There's a lot of cross-training and a lot of inter-agency cooperation. And so while it wasn't a perfect drill, it was a very, very successful experience, I think, for all of us. And we were happy to be an integral part of it. Operations manager for Jelly, as I said, was the incident commander from the fire department side. And then 3 of our operations staff led the, so I did staging, we had one doing triage, we had one doing the ambulance and patient transport. So we were actively involved in it. And then paramedic Jordan was one of the evaluators from the county. So it was a good experience for all of us. And we'll be doing it again, I think, in 2 years. Some not so perfect news is our land purchase at 205 North Avenue has officially ended. We could not come to terms with the seller. We were considering leasing the space. We invested a lot of money into kind of converting that space to what we needed, and we just could not get it. So we are now going back to reevaluating Jackson Road, and hopefully sometime in July we'll have the final plans done and we'll be in front of the planning boards and get site approval done and get that moving. One thing we don't talk a whole lot about is finance. A few months ago, Berkeley Green, one of the I think News 10 reporters, did an article about kept checks. I don't know if you remember the story about people that get paid by the insurance companies and that don't pay their providers, not only EMS, but this happens to the dentist and the doctor and everybody else. So, as you know, in March we changed billing agencies to a company called Logical Solutions out of Irondequoit. And we have now had access to data we have never seen before. So, you know, we used to get send PCRs in, we get charged for every PCR, and we get some money back every month. It was kind of like this, you know, voodoo bag and crystal ball and stuff just appeared. Well, with Logical Billings and their data, we now have access to stuff we've never seen before. And one eye-opener that came to me this week, which was quite incredible, was a patient in Webster who is insured, has kept $3,675 from NEQ so far, and $2,067 from WEMS. She now, I don't know if it's a she or he, have $2,500 or $756 pending to be paid from NEQ, and $3,120 from WEMS. So just think, in round numbers, that is almost $10,000 that person is collecting that we provided a service for which we know at least $5,000 they've cashed the checks for. We know it because insurance companies tell us, and we have not gotten it. We're going to take that one to court, right? This is kind of out of control. And so I thought to myself, is this a unique experience or not? And so here's what we found. For self-pay, so people that either don't have insurance, that haven't hit their deductibles, so they've got insurance, but they haven't hit the magic number yet, right? So they have to pay. There are $93,565 in outstanding payables since March, only since March of 2019. For NEQ, there's $60,000 in self-pays of which $18,000 are for West Webster for the Medicaid calls where the flag card goes to treat a patient, but because they're on Medicaid, we can't bill them. We will never collect that money. So when people say, why does the town give us some money? Now I can quantify that for you. If you take $18,000 for 3 months and scale it, extrapolate it out over the year, that's $56,493. We can't even bill for it. It's not even a matter of collecting, we can't bill. Then you add other Medicaid write-offs that the flag card goes to in Ontario, Penfield, and other areas. That so far for March until June is $5,468, and if you extrapolate that to the year, it's $16,400. So right alone there is 56 plus 16,000, $72,000 of money we will never be able to bill for, let alone collect. Right? Now you assume that some percentage of those self-pays aren't going to pay, and you know why we ask for support from the community. Right? And now I can quantify that for you. Any questions on that? I was quite baffled by that figure when I was putting this together.
Why can't you get the insurance company to send you the check?
Well, sir, that's a question we have to ask our state legislature, right? I mean, that is in New York State with everybody. If you go to your doctor, right, and it's an out-of-network payment, the check comes to your house, right? If you go to your eye doctor, the $60 comes, your dentist, the dollars comes, your chiropractor. It's the law in the state of New York. And it's ridiculous because what happens is we all have provided service regardless of which healthcare professional you are. And the check comes. If you ever notice, I got one of these the other day in my house. It's a check from an insurance company. It doesn't tell you what it's for, what date of service, nothing. It's just a check. So unless your wife is smart enough to intercept those checks on the kitchen counter, you could just very easily deposit it. Now, that's in most cases. I think when there's $10,000 out there, there's some shenanigans going on, right? Something else going on. But, if you get a check for $600, $800 and you don't know where it's from and it doesn't really say, it can be easily mistaken and deposited.
Well,
I think
by that same token, how many people get $6,800 checks sent to their house?
fair enough, right?
Insurance company. It's pretty, you should know what's coming.
Well, and I think in this case, what we have not done
Right.
for any queue, we take these people to collections. For WEMS, we have not. And I think at some point, it's time for us to think about that, because that is money, that is our earned money
Right.
that we are not collecting, right? And so maybe at another time or at a workshop, we can discuss defining what the criteria is to take some people to collections, but there's a lot of money here.
Does Logical Solutions provide a service of collection too, or do they just give you?
Logical billing, yes. So what they do is they write demand letters, 3 rounds, and then we turn them to, you have to be a licensed collector, so we turn them to collection agencies. But in many cases, what we have found is that the second or third letter usually gets people moving. And it's an unfortunate thing to have to do, right? Every time he does that, it costs us money, right? So we're paying something for that service. But we couldn't, right now, if we potentially didn't collect this $150,000, just to give you an idea, that's 3 fly cars that we need, right? That is a part of a new building. That is a couple of ambulances that we can take care of. So, I mean, these dollars impact our operations in significantly. So I'm pleased to be able to quantify that for you guys now.
I think it's an opportunity that, as you pointed out, to talk to our legislators about this. Because I know in the home repair business, insurance companies will have an assessor go out and they'll do an appraisal and they'll pay out X amount of dollars, but they keep a percentage back of what they call as depreciation. And it's not actually depreciation. What it is when the homeowner shows that the repairs have been done, they pay that last percentage.
It's a holdback.
Yeah, but they call it depreciation, but it's a holdback.
Well, but in this case, the thing that's quite interesting is the fee is paid, right?
Yeah.
So like many years ago, I had a car accident. My son had a car accident. And, the insurance company came, they did the adjustment, and right there in their car, they printed out the check and bang, I walked away with a check in my hand, right? Then it's my problem to pay the person that is doing the repairs. It's the same situation. I got a check, right? Nothing says I have to repair the auto. So part of this is integrity, right? People know they got a service. It came within a few weeks or months of the service. They got to pay us. And so it's an interesting problem we all face. And it was timely to Berkeley's interview.
Education time. A lot of people in West Webster do not get billed for ambulances because they're in fire district. And fly car shows up, and they get a bill for $918, and then my phone starts ringing.
Yeah.
And they say, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be charged. Why am I getting a bill? So you need to explain why in West Webster and where that line is, that they're getting billed for an equals call when the ambulance from West Webster is not charging.
Sure, so, I mean, it's complicated.
I know it's complicated,
But
but
the
while
short
we're here,
story
let's do it.
is this: the West Webster Fire District extends from half of Arundecoit Bay to Hard Road to Lake down to Emberley-ish, right? That's the West Webster Fire District, Webster and Penn. That is a fire district. The ambulance is provided as a service of the fire district. In New York State, fire districts may not bill for services because they do bill. People say, I don't pay anything. Yeah, you do. Every year you pay a fire tax, right? Look on your bill. You're paying a fee for a service that many people will never use, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, right? But you are paying for that. It's not free. It's just out of sight, out of mind. So because of that, when the fly car, when a paramedic intercept goes to meet that ambulance, we provide a service. We have equipment and supplies and staff we have to recruit. We have to bill. Because West Webster cannot bill, we have to bill the patient directly. And that's why these patients get these bills, and they call the supervisor, and they call us. And in many cases, we try to work out, because who really gets impacted? Not the people with insurance. It's the people with the elderly over 65 that are Medicare and Medicaid that does not pay. Because Medicare and Medicaid do not recognize ALS intercept. They only pay the transport ambulance. That's federal law. We're not going to fix that in 15 minutes, right? And so what happens is it still comes. And so we spend an incredible amount of time with the money the town gives us, basically writing off those bills, right? So I just showed you $250,000 I'm about to lose. Now I take the $50,000 the town gives me, that evaporates by mid-year, right? I'm running in a hole for every West Webster call for someone over 65, because if they have a third-party insurance that might pay it, we'll get some money. But in many cases, Medicare is the primary, the secondary says, well, they're not paying, I'm not paying, and we get zero, right? And as the supervisor knows, and why you guys have given us money for so long, is we never want finance to determine whether someone calls an ambulance or not. And so we need it, right? We have workout plans, we have some payment plans, but there are people who say, I make $1,200 a month, right? I can barely pay my food and rent, how am I going to do this? And like, you know what, we'll figure something out, and we do it every time. On the east side of town, it's a different story. So on the east side of town, because there's a pay-for-service ambulance, what the paramedic does is when the ambulance goes, we bill on top of that ambulance. So the ambulance bills a higher level service, we bill part through that, the insurance company pays for all that, and then we get our payment through there. So there's a commercial ambulance, right, which is a fee-for-service ambulance charging, the paramedic intercept gets covered. When it's a non-billing, let's not say volunteer, a non-billing ambulance on the west side of town, it doesn't. And right now, West Webster is one of the few fire districts that has an ambulance left. Most of them are split off. It's either billed or they just don't want to deal with the headache, right? But that's why we get the phone calls. Right.
Thank you.
So the CON matter, we have not heard a lot about that. We heard from the state a few weeks ago that an administrative law judge has been assigned. We were expecting to hear some times and dates. We are now at the end of June and we've heard nothing. Charlie, until you hear something or Todd hears something, we are status quo. We continue to do our business and do it well. And when the state decides we'll do something, we will. My guess is we're not a high priority. They're losing ambulance services left and right. I can't imagine they want to go tackle an issue when ambulance service is doing a good job and say, we don't want you to. So my guess is we're low on the agenda. We continue to work with Webster PD, the Monroe County Sheriff, and several other agencies to fight this opioid epidemic. It seems to wax and wane, right? Holiday time it seems to go up, summertime we get other activities, winter time I'm sure will come back. We're seeing an addition of other drugs coming, so as marijuana seems to be getting more accepted, not legalized, but accepted. People are starting to do that more and more at younger ages, and they're starting to mix things. So, what we think is marijuana, you're trying it the first time, some dummies put something else in there, sometimes fentanyl, and now the whole game changes. So you get calls for, well, they were just smoking weed, and now they're unconscious on the floor and doing CPR. And right, these are not drugs to experiment with, but people do because there's this perception that it's not a big deal. And we have the same problem with heroin, right? As you read every day, people continue to mix. And as I'll tell everybody, when I first started in this business almost 29 years ago, if you went to a call at 2 a.m., you were picking up the drug. If you went to a call in certain neighborhoods, you were picking up the cocaine to save money. If you were going somewhere else, it was something else, right? There's no demographic for heroin. We are picking up old folks, young folks, wealthy folks, poor folks, men, women, children. It doesn't matter. It begins to wear on you, especially in a community ambulance like ours, because there's nothing worse than walking through a door and saying, hey, I'm going to do something. Hey, Jerry, do something. They greet our crews by name. It's ridiculous, right? And it's terrible. And so you may save that person, but after a while, it begins to wear on our crews, right? And on the police officers. And again, I talk about our interaction with the Webster PD, but Joe has trained all his police officers in the use of Narcan. They get in there, and many times they've delivered the first, if not second dose of Narcan, and got the patient in a position where we have something to work with to save, right? These people are not breathing, they have minutes. And it's a very, very good system. Webster Fire's got it on their trucks, Webster Fire's got it on their trucks, and the integrated system and response that we have here for not conscious, not breathing, you're getting everywhere, right? And somebody's gonna get there, we put Narcan on the trucks, Webster's giving Narcan to some of their active EMTs, so they've got it in their vehicles, people are getting there and they're hitting them with Narcan, and we're making a difference, right? Otherwise, people wouldn't be going home. The mobile stroke unit. So I think we spoke about this a few months ago. The mobile stroke unit is a venture between Strong and AMR. It's a $1 million ambulance with a CT scanner in it. It is staffed from Monday, Jerry, 8 till 4-ish? 8 to 4, so it's not up all the time. The concept is that if we are dispatched for possible stroke in any of Monroe County, one of these ambulances, but anywhere in Monroe County, the stroke unit will be dispatched. And the first arriving units will do a quick assessment. If there's signs and indications of a stroke, which are, paralysis of the face, inability to speak, inability to smile, and lift an arm or leg on one side, any of those signs and symptoms, then we continue the stroke unit. We will actually transfer the patient from our care to their care. And while on scene, they will put that patient in the CT scan, determine if there's a bleed or an occlusion, and if it's an occlusion, actually administer the clot-breaking drugs on scene. Interesting concept, right? We're not waiting for it. So, if we get a stroke and we can load the patient and get moving, we'll meet them en route. But, we have RGH right here that can very capably treat a stroke patient. Our paramedics and EMTs know very well how to diagnose, and we don't know if the ambulance is available or not coming out of RGH. And it's one more of AMR's in-service ambulances. So they get busy, it becomes an ambulance in their fleet. So, our protocol that the operations team shared today says, it will be dispatched, if they're en route and in range, in a reasonable amount of time, we'll let them get evaluated. Otherwise, make best effort to get to a higher level of care, which in our case is RGH.
So you guys would do on-scene care, how would that differentiate between the mobile?
So we don't have a CAT scan.
Well, I understand that.
So we can't diagnose. That's part A. And part B is, we have no way to tell whether it's a bleed or an occlusion, and we don't carry the clot velocity drug. If it's a bleed, there's nothing we can do. They gotta go to the OR. But if it's a occlusion, and you can give TPA, which is a thrombolytic, which is an anti-clotting medicine, very powerful anti-clotting medicine, we can't do that. That team can do. Right? They give it so this is another game where minutes matter. So the concept is very interesting. It's just we're not sure how it will fit into our region.
Who's paying for the stroke?
So they got a grant for $5 million that should cover them for 3 years. Apparently, any revenue they generate will be going back into funding the stroke unit. I guess it will be a difficult mathematical formula to keep. One of our biggest complaints as EMS agencies in the county, actually, I think 8 of us all got together and just came and said we want some protocols, we understand. But if you think in a way, we have a patient that, I hate to say this, but we could bill. Right. We're not going to turn over to someone, and as soon as we do, we cannot bill. So we've been delayed on scene, we've provided initial care, we may have started IVs, we may have intubated them, who knows, right? And all of a sudden, we're going to hand them off. And so an arrangement has been made that AMR will pay us, I think it's $150 for that. It's better than zero, right? But it's an interesting consideration. And in the end, like I said a few minutes ago, we never want finances to impact patient care. If this is a good model and we can perfect it and it makes a difference in one person's life and they go home without a deficit, we're all for it, right? So, we had an agreement, we put nice protocols in place. AMR has been very cooperative since they've had their leadership change in the last few months. Tim Frost coming on board, who runs Rochester and Buffalo region. He's a good friend to many of us. He's a former Monroe employee, I think. And so he understands both sides of the map, and we're working it out. One of the things so the next point is we're closing Route 104 eastbound. So that's going to change our response in the area, right? It means we can't get mutual aid from Arundicoit because they just ain't coming, right? We have no big bridge and we got no 104 bridge, so we're not getting Arundicoit. So Jerry worked with Penfield, and for the next 4 weeks we will have Penfield ambulance doing the majority of our mutual aid here. That will put a strain on them, but with the 104 eastbound bridge coming, we just can't ask Arundicoit to come help. Penfield has 3 ambulances staffed in the day, and Jerry and Dan Reardon, their operations manager, have good communication. If we see a spike, we'll get some help. The real challenge isn't in our response time, it's in our return to service time. Because now we have to come with all the traffic down Empire Boulevard to get home. That's where we're gonna get stuck. We'll be stuck in gridlock, right, in 2 lanes. We can't really go around in the other lane. It's not safe. And we'll be getting back to service. That is where we have our biggest challenge. So we'll have to kind of walk through this as we do over time. But as of today, our mutual aid plan has been altered for 4 weeks to put Penfield in ahead of Rondequoit, who was normally first up. And then we'll always continue to rely on Ontario and West Webster. So that's all I have. I'm sorry it was a little bit longer than normal, but I hope this was useful. And, as I often ask, and Councilman Capaldi's not here to answer, but are we doing what you expect? You guys fight for us, you support us, you are out with us. Is the EMS in this town at the level you expect, or would you like us to do something different?
You keep getting better and better, and I think that we're all probably agreed to you're surpassing our initial expectations.
We're very fortunate to have your team here. And it was very enlightening. You were speaking about the numbers and the costs, very, very enlightening.
I think the community is better because of this. Absolutely. Because the move that we made years ago, I think you're proving that. The question still remains is the cost figure. Nobody's debating your service, but you and I know that people that are on fixed incomes have a hard time paying some of these bills, and we get those phone calls. So, that's still a concern, and that's why, the town continues to budget $50,000 a year for equals, because it's a needed service in this town. When you have a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, you're not caring about money. You need service, and you're providing a service. You need to be paid for it. And as a community, if they don't have that care, we need to step up to the plate. That's exactly what the town is doing. So I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. And remember, years ago, it used to be $150,000. So it's down to 50. So it's a big part of the community. And hopefully you can get Jackson Road off the ground here soon.
Yeah, we'll let you know. And just to close, first of all, thank you to all your support. I know you guys are out there with us through thick and thin, and we appreciate that. But I can't leave the podium without thanking the operations staff. I mean, it's easy for me to be up here and be the talking head, but I do very little. Jerry Cadelli and Matt Lloyd, and Rick Yeckel and others that make this go. We're a 7/24 operation. We're in 6 towns right now, right? There isn't a day we can say, oh, it's holiday weekend, everyone wants to take vacation, we're off, right? We scramble, people work many, many long hours to make it happen, and we're lucky to have the dedicated team we do to make it happen in this community. So,
No, you're absolutely right. I have not been to an event in the last 3 years that your team has not been there, not one.
And I hope that continues.
They're all ready to go 24 hours a day. We're very, very fortunate to have the professional team we have. Jerry, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And we have open to the floor for anyone that would like to speak on any topic.
Not this round.
Scott, I'm going to table you too.
What's that?
Jeff's not here tonight,
Yeah.
so why don't I just table it?
What's that?
Okay, I'm just going to table it.
Oh,
The top side, okay?
okay.
All right? Jeff's not here, so we'll do that for 2 weeks, okay?
Okay.
So I can get the right answers because I don't have them.
I totally understand.
Okay. All right, anybody else open to the floor? Okay. Consideration to approve purchase orders, bills, and prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance, Councilman Dean, did the bills.
I did. I went through all the bills, had a few questions, got all the answers I needed, and I move that we approve and pay the bills as submitted by the Finance Director.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Heath?
Aye. I will move to pay the prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Heath?
Aye.
I also move to approve the budget transfers as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Heath?
Aye.
Okay.
We have budget amendment too.
Parkland Trust.
Yeah, good for that. Okay. We have a consideration to approve a budget amendment to transfer funds from the Parkland Trust Fund appropriated fund balance account in the amount of $19,500 as submitted by the Director of Finance This was for the cameras that we installed in First Responders Park and in Kent Park. And the Director of Finance says I gotta do a budget amendment to do that. So that's what this is all about. We've already approved the funds to be moved earlier in the year, but he needs a budget amendment to transfer the funds from the Park Land Trust in the amount of $19,500. That would be my motion.
Second.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Two.
Resolution number 4, I'm going to ask for a table because Highway Superintendent could not be here this evening. So I'd like to table resolution number 4 until the July 18th, 2019 meeting. Because he wants to explain what he's doing with that.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Also like to table resolution number 5 to July 18th. Approval of a permit for topsoil screen 665 Phillips Road. This is, the Commissioner of Public Works is not here also this evening to give us some details on that. So I would ask to move that to July 18th, table it, and then do my motion.
Second.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilman King? Excuse me, Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Okay, we'll table Scott till the 18th. Next, we have a resolution to authorize the town clerk to give public notice of the availability of the town of Webster's New York State Annual Finance Report and audited financial statements, including reports for the town justices, town clerk, and receiver of taxes as filed in the town clerk's office for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018.
Second.
Supervisor Nesbit?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Councilman Abbott?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
And I'd like just to comment that all those reports came out very well, in fact, outstanding. Town is in good financial shape, very good financial shape. Okay, that will end tonight's meeting. I would like to notify the public that next Thursday, July 11th, we will cancel the workshop because we will be going to the fireman's parade, which we do every year. So we will not have a workshop next Thursday, July 11th. Karen will be there filming on the channel, cable channel. So there's nothing that night, so we're going to cancel. Dog, taxes, anything?
We are all done with taxes.
Taxes, you're all done with taxes?
I'm
okay?
sure that people that live in the village are getting their village taxes paid. Once in a while, I have one in my Dropbox by accident.
Okay.
Village taxes are paid to the village.
Okay.
But, no, we're actually starting to, prepare
Yes.
paperwork for school taxes. I just got the request for postage for that. Yay! But other than that, we're still heading on with, all of our dog licenses. We, just got back our delinquent list from the animal control officer, and they made phone calls to anybody who may have not renewed their license. If you've moved or going to move within Webster, your dog license is still renewable within Webster, but if you leave the town, you should let us know, so we're not chasing you down, trying to find out why you didn't renew your license.
Town is working on our 2020 budget right now. Paul, myself, and the liaisons from the department. Each department, we're meeting with the department heads, going over their wants and needs for 2020. And we will have public hearings on August 1st and August 8th. Public information meetings those 2 nights at 4:30 p.m. As each department head will come in line by line, explain what they want to put in their 2020 budget. So we continue the process. Our goal is always not to raise taxes and to stay under the tax cap. So that's what our goal is, but we will not know until we see all the numbers all together. And how the board works on that, we won't be finished with that until sometime late October. So still moving on that. Anything else?
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. We could talk about fireworks for a minute. There's been, they are, the flares, the sparklers are now legal in New York State. As you can see, they're being sold here in Webster and other places. But the booms and the bottle rock, or the firecrackers, those are still illegal, people. And those are the things that are upsetting the dogs. And that's what I get the phone calls from. Those are still illegal, and if you think that's a problem in your neighborhood, you need to call 911. But some of the flares and that are legal now. Sparklers are legal, fountains are legal, but nothing that goes boom. Those are the ones that are not. Cherries definitely, yeah. They're dangerous. Fireworks are very dangerous. They'll take your hand off. I'm sure you guys have seen that stuff before. They're nothing to mess around with. I'm scared. I'm scared of it, period. I just think that they would go off in your hand or in your face, and it's scary to me. Anybody else? See you in 2 weeks. See you at the Fireman's Parade next week, the 11th, Wednesday through Saturday.
Happy 4th of July.
Everybody have a good Fourth.
Nice holiday weekend.
We'll see you. Thank you.
Mr. Rizzo, man.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
You gonna blow up fireworks?
Are the fireworks they sell at BJ's?
No, they're flares.
No, I don't know.
They're fountains.
They're pretty big, I mean.
They are pretty big.
Yeah, they're big. They're big, but they just, there's no boom.
So are they Roman candles?
Yes, that's all.
No, they're more than Roman
Well,
candles.
they just flare. That's all they do. I went to the tent.
Buy one and lay it out in front of the office.
Well, he's afraid.
I don't look there.
Went to the tent to see what's going on.
Oh, I went to the tent to make sure.
I just slid it in like that.
Sure. See the flower tent?
Very stealthy.
The flower tent is gone, but the fireworks tent is up.
Yeah.
So,
So I went to make sure.
your
it was pretty.
comment, they need work, what need to work?
They didn't. So I went.
No, I know, because I figured it was like two.
Oh, yeah.
We got all the permits.
I put it in the return, I said draft.
Okay.
And if anybody has